Hey guys, it's Courtney King here with King Realty and Management. Sorry for the echo. I'm here in one of our rental listings here in Irving. And I just wanted to take a moment to talk about kind of what's going on with the market. I've been watching it, I've been researching it, and I even have a few clients that are like, Courtney, what do we do? So I read an article yesterday, I believe it was, and it said that new home construction sales are actually down about over 13%. And I'm sorry, it says I lost network connection, so hopefully it'll come back up. But long story short, new home sales are down over 13%. And I don't know if you've been watching, but there's a lot of price reductions. So a lot of homeowners that are selling their home are reducing their prices, lots of open houses, just a lot going on, particularly above the $250 price point. I think any home that is at or below $250,000, it's still kind of a really hot time, and it's usually pretty easy to unload a property, at least from my experience with my listings that are under $250. But for those of you guys that are above $250, I understand that it might be a little bit challenging, and so it's like, what do you do? And I'm sorry because it's raining out, and I was like, what is that noise? So what do you do? Couple of things. I have one client that said, you know what, Courtney, obviously it's not time for me to move, so let me take my property off the market for sale and let's just plan on let's plan on selling it spring of next year. So with them, we decided, okay, stay put for a little bit, get through this holiday season where it normally slows down. But in March or April, we'll go ahead and relist that property for sale, okay? Now, you may not be fortunate like them in terms of being able to remain in your property. You may need to make some moves. And so if you need to get out of your property, but let's say it's really slow to sell, then here are your options. Number one, and I'll kind of talk about the pros and cons briefly. Number one, you can rent it out. So if you are able to carry that mortgage as well as buy another property, you could rent the property out that you're having some trouble selling, rent it out for maybe a shorter term lease, maybe until the spring of next year. That way it'll get you through the slow holiday season, and then try selling it later. On one of my listings, I had somebody that said, you know what, we really want to buy it, but we're just not in a position financially to buy the property. Would you do a lease to own? And what I would recommend in that case, in most cases, is going to be to rent the property to that tenant, but then have some stipulations in the lease potentially, or some sort of agreement with the tenant that they will actively try to obtain financing in spring, summer of next year, okay? But the positive of doing kind of lease to own is you could set the sale price now. I think there's so much gray area in terms of the law that we'd want to consult with some attorneys and stuff like that to see if it would be in your best interest. Otherwise, I would just do a straight lease with the lease ending in spring or summer, and then we can evaluate whether or not we could sell at that time or not, okay? The next thing would be to do owner finance. So if you're in a position where, again, you can carry your current mortgage if your house is mortgaged and buy your next property, then you could sell the property to somebody owner financing where you act as the bank. There's some caveats to that I'm not going to get into right here, but you can always ask me about it. I do have some previous videos where I talk about owner financing. That may be another option. With owner financing, the beauty of it is you would get a large sum of money as the down payment for the buyer buying your house, but then you act as the bank for carrying the note. And for those of you that have a mortgage on the property, and let's say your interest rate is really low, not only are you able to get that money from the down payment, but you could charge a higher interest rate, and that's going to be additional income for you. So you're going to want to talk to your CPA if you end up doing that. And there's also a note servicing company that you would probably want to use. Not all title companies do what is called a wraparound mortgage in that case, if your property has a mortgage on it. So that may be an option for you that I'm always happy to explore in depth and tell you kind of the pros and cons with that. Obviously the pros is, you sell your house now and you can move on. The cons are, if that buyer defaults, then you would have to foreclose on the property, take the property back, and then you're back at square one. Okay, but on a positive note, they're responsible for the homeowners association dues, all the taxes, all the insurance, all of that. So that's off of your plate. Okay, those are kind of my primary recommendations. At the end of the day, there's two things that decide whether a house sells: price and condition. And if a lot of other properties in your area are experiencing a price reduction, you as the seller may have to get a little bit aggressive with your price, or potentially if your condition, if the condition of the house is, can be improved, then maybe you explore that route. Okay, but there's a lot of options, and guys, I don't want you to get discouraged. This happens every year, so this is not anything new, but I do think that the slowdown took place a little bit sooner in the year rather than later, whereas I normally experience kind of a slowdown right before Thanksgiving. I really do believe it started to slow down right as school started. So I know we have a lot going on in the political arena. I know that interest rates and the talk of interest rates going up affect buyers. So there's just a lot of variables. And if you're not in a position to drop the price of your home, or you feel like you don't want to drop the price of your home, then maybe doing those alternative things will get you to your goal, or maybe sitting tight, because at the end of the day, God has this thing all worked out. So I hope that's encouraging to you guys. If I can be of any assistance, definitely reach out to me, Courtney at KingRealtyTX.com. Our website is KingRealtyTX. We're on Instagram and Twitter at KingRealtyDFW. And then you can always check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/KingRealtyTX. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the day, and I will talk to you later.